Hey there, guys. Can you hear me? Let's see here. You guys see me? Let me just check something here. Make sure I'm not doing anything too goobery. Excellent, excellent. Oh, I see there's a bit of a delay. That does make a lot of sense, actually. Well, hello there, fans, and welcome to A Fan with Too Much Time's first stream. And the entire idea behind this, I'll go ahead and explain it a bit to you, is just this. I'm going to go ahead and take a few video recommendations from the audience with the intention of getting into that zone. Various videos, it can be about writing, Warhammer 40k, Star Wars, but, please, no Book of Boba Fett or Acolyte stuff. I've had my fill by far. But just various things you guys might suggest that trigger that spark of je ne sais quoi, that thing that puts us into the world, the specific world of Warhammer 40k and Star Wars, and allows that blending to occur. So once that happens and I get a few video recommendations, catch up with a few things according to what you guys are saying, my plan is to slide over to one of my latest Star Wars versus Warhammer 40k writing projects and sort of give you an inside on how I write. What you will be seeing is a disconnected piece. That is to say, it's a piece of writing for a part of the story that I haven't decided where I'm going to slot it into. It is definitely a spoiler, but from what point in time is not exactly clear. You can jump out. Oh, yes, let's see here. Is that a dog in the background? Yes, it is. It's one of my many illegally small dogs. You can see the other two sliding into frame on the corner if you pay attention. They are very cute. They are adorable dogs. My dogs, illegally small dogs, and I must protect them from the law. So, back to what I was saying. When we get to the writing part, if you want to avoid spoilers, there will be plenty of forewarning. I'll let you know before the screen switches over to that. And you can depart at that point if it is your desire to see none of the sinew and tissue behind the rough draft writing process. Are those war fans? Prophet, you might call them that. Oh my goodness. Everyone say hi to little Ahsoka. She's my little girl. Oh yes. My goodness. Okay. Off you go. Go play. Lots of toys on the ground for you. So that is more or less the plan. Watch some cool videos, catch up on a few things, maybe answer a few questions from the chat, and then dive into the actual video. And the actual video being me giving you guys the behind the scenes view at the rough draft. You guys will get to see me writing, ask some questions about writing. Hopefully, I am honored to share anything that I can use with you. That is 100%. I'm sorry, I'm just looking at the chat right now, and there's a lot of orcs going on right now. But yeah, the idea is to dive into that, and there will be nice, clean segments that will let you know if I'm going to go do that. So again, although there will be spoilers ultimately in the video, you should not be in danger of subjecting yourself to any of them, thanks to the warnings. So let's kick it off. And I'm going to start looking at the chat here. Let's take a look. So I have a question from, let's see here, Cold Star Command. So I have a question, and I don't mind spoilers. I'm just over halfway done and was wondering how you are dealing with the fact that Caiaphas Cain is technically dead, but also not dead. This is actually how I'm dealing with it. In the altered canon of my story, the way that I'm handling that is more or less having it be the case that Caiaphas Cain is not confirmed dead in the Imperium because he was in the Zectek sector and the Zectek sector closed. So he will be dead by the time he's able to rejoin the rest of the Imperium forces and the Warp Harbor opens. But he won't be, well, it's assumed that he's not dead right now. And this is kind of causing a little fucky with the Administratum. And they're not, so there's reports here and reports there. There's imperatives to make sure people don't think he's dead before he's actually dead because he's like, a hero of the Imperium, maybe even the hero of the Imperium. But at the same time, administratively, the dude is gone. He is removed. He's out, even if not technically dead. And that is part of the way that that is sort of getting explained in that way. Let me see here. I'm hopeful that there won't be as much AI in the future. This is from Nate Bit 8. I admit your own voice and voice of human actors is much easier on the ears. That's true, but only for so long. I wish it were different, but we are creating better and better learning algorithms that are able to piece together behaviors and patterns and stimuli, and it is a matter of time. Very little, inch by inch, shaving by shaving, the experience will be shaped more and more until it is easy on the ears as well. If you're referring to less AI in my stories in the future, I understand that, and I have gotten some opinions on that. Some negative, most positive. The fact of the matter is this, it's a bit more immersive when I can replace certain voices with the voices that the actors took on. I try not to replace too many. And just so you're aware, the way that this works, I am speaking all the voice lines except for the voice lines for the clones because I'm very, very bad at their accent. To be fair, I'm kind of bad at accents. If you're bad at accents too, know this. I've gotten this far being legitimately bad at accents, just trying hard. But it's not far enough for me. I try my best with Obi-Wan Kenobi, but I'm really not an accents guy. So when it comes to, making myself sound like a clone, I let the AI handle that entirely because it categorically beats my clone voice interpretation 100% in accent and in actual voice. But for Ahsoka, for Mace Windu, for Obi-Wan Kenobi, for everyone else whose voice is altered, it's an AI voice speaking in the recent videos, it's still me speaking. I'm just having the AI voice take my lines and then try to voice them over with the voice of the characters. But it's not the case that I just pop in the dialogue from the story and just let it ride and let the AI generate it. It's typically not super good at that. Aurora. I do that with Aurora too. Our Italian tech priestess who has the entirely robotic voice. I let the AI handle that entirely because the desired effect is that it's a baseline vocalizer because under normal circumstances, she's living in the noosphere and communicating through binary. And there is like super tertiary reason for her to ever actually have to speak out loud. So it's covered, but not extensively. She ain't here for your comfort. So that is more or less my points on that. Let's see here. Hello, Cape. I was just watching a video about mad or dead gods. Oh, sounds compelling. Sherman. Damn greenskins, orcs. Let's see here. I'd very much like to see the Night Lords appear. Maybe a small warband that gets caught up in the warp incident. I can't promise you that Night Lords are going to appear. I can't promise you that legitimate Ultramarines are going to appear, though it's more likely for them because it's a bigger part of the Imperial force that is here. For me, I have to try to keep the story manageable and also in theme. And one of the themes of Chaos that I don't feel like, it's not missing, but it does get sort of lost in the translation for a lot of what we see is that Chaos isn't Chaos Space Marines. Chaos is Chaos everything. Chaos is corruption. In fact, I kind of resent that a little bit because in many ways, stylistically and insofar as the design is concerned, we see that the Imperium has like way more creativity than Chaos. Chaos demons are almost exactly what you would expect them to be, and they exist in very tight little confines. And the stories and the literature are actually what bear out more of the chaos diversity than anything reflected in any of the games or any of the models, which I don't really like. I wish that chaos were re-geared in a way. Like, for example, when you're fighting chaos, like if I were to describe, okay, like, a powerful world that is not necessarily prepared or knows about chaos, but they're ready. The soldiers are standing there at the ready. They're standing upon the hills, and the hordes of chaos come pouring over from the portal. And the way that I would describe that myself personally is that I would make sure to describe it as like an incredible and intense variety, and not just of like chaos space marines or corrupted humans or even just demonic entities. I'd have it be like among them was a Salazeth, the last of his kind, or perhaps not. But as he was the last for all he knew, for he slew all others of his kind that he saw in the name of Khorne. For of his species only he would be the blood spiller. Thus all of the favor of Khorne would pour upon him like the tribute he offered to the blood god, the last of his kind, a thing so unimaginable by humans that with every turn and every tilt of its body, a new direction could be seen, far more than the pitiful 3 dimensions that humanity was accustomed to. And I would like go on like that. Like if I were GW, I would like try to factor that in. And hell, it's funny because like I am sitting here trying to mitigate the cost to chaos players as to how all of this stupid huge variety of but they don't care about that at all, and we know that. So why don't they do it? It would be really cool. Just random chaos units of all kinds, all varieties, from this and from that, from this result of that, X, Y, and Z. That is chaos, because chaos corrupts, it takes, and it should also generate and create, because it is, they are the artists, they are the unbridleds. We don't really see that reflected all the time as we should in the literature, and we don't see that reflected almost at all in the tabletop, and I would change that 100%. But in this that I control, that is the element that chaos is going to take on. It's not going to be taking on the form of space marines from the Warhammer 40k universe coming over and being chaos space marines. Perhaps space marines in this universe turn to chaos, and they become their own kind of chaos warband or legion in this place that has none. Or perhaps Jedi begin to fall to chaos, and they become a whole new kind of chaos disciple, fusing Jedi beliefs with chaos ideology and forbidden truth. Or perhaps an entire species from Star Wars is claimed by a chaos god once that should become possible, and you see Khorne sink his talons into the Trandoshan species. Once hunters, now butchers. The galaxy is our prey. Let the blood flow. Let the tallies increase ever onward toward the throne of the blood god. And that's the route that I want to take chaos in. Chaos deserves that. It doesn't deserve to stay stagnant. In fact, that's like one of the biggest problems I have with Tzeentch and Tzeentch's faction. He should be the weakest chaos god, and it's not shown to be that way, but he should be by massive categories, because the universe has largely been so the same in tiny cycles of change for so long that unless Tzeentch is also in a roundabout way the god of stagnation, which is Nurgle's domain, if I'm going to be honest. But I guess, the endless dream, the planless plan, you could also call that stagnation. But I feel like the resolution or revelation of that would crush Tzeentch's existence or fundamentally change it. And in any way, I don't feel like it's the intention. So I like that Tzeentch should take on new forms, should be changing and changing and changing, and never the same. It should not be the case that in 10,000 years, the forces of Tzeentch look anything similar to how they looked 10,000 years ago. We may begin with and look, I get it. Kairos Fateweaver, fucking awesome. The what do you call them? The Lords of Change, fantastic character designs. But I marry the concept. I don't marry the design as much. I think that better design comes from that, and I would really appreciate it if in the lore it had been the case that like the Fate Weavers and the the changes of ways, they weren't always these blue ravens. Maybe that's what they are now here at the end of M42 or whatever, at the start of M42. But I would have preferred if throughout history they were different to reflect something. Maybe just the fact that Tzeentch is the changer of ways and nothing remains the same. But it would have been great to get all these new designs and to have various generations of Tzeentchian demons with only the most powerful of that particular iteration surviving into M42. So Kairos, Fate Weaver would still be there, and Daemons would look at him and be like, "Yes, you remember when all of the Lords of Change, when they were all bird beat people like Kairos, but they had one head. He's the only one that's left, and he has two." I mean, I know that we lose a lot for that, so I'm saying some things that people may not agree with, and I understand why, but I think that we would at least have the chance at so many cool characters, so many cool character designs, so many cool iterations. I mean, you really can't go wrong with change, because as long as the idea is there in the audience's mind, like we all understand that it's about change, that is what this is all about, then we won't hate them for producing more and more changes. And hey, sometimes we get some shit designs and some shit characters, and time goes on and we can forget those very easily. But as we keep rolling the dice over and over again, how many times are we gonna hit jackpots? You know what I'm saying? How many times are we gonna hit like big 20s? So in any case, big long tangent on what I think the take on Tzeentch should be and what I think my take on Tzeentch will be 100%. So let's see here. Moving down. Spoiler alert. In the next installment, Ahsoka collects all 7 Chaos Emeralds and turns into Super Soaker. Super Soaker. You mean Super Soka? That's funny either way, but that's fucking hilarious. Let's see here. I like the AI voices. Thank you. Watch some of the what if videos from the Pente Portal Star Wars, like what if Palpatine was a Jedi, or what if Shakti trained Anakin, or what if Padme was a Sith? Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. Pente Portal Star Wars. Let's go ahead and pick one of those. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of the chat now. I have been rambling a long time. Okay. Sorry, everybody. We can't be here. I'm going to be backed up all day. Let me see here. All right. Bottom of the chat. Let's take a look here. Okay. What video do you guys want me to watch? From those suggested, I saw what if Padme was a Sith and what if Shakti trained Anakin. Out of those two, what do you think? And just to be clear, if they turn out to be extremely long videos, then I'll have to choose something else and save those for personal watch time. But assuming that they're not, which what if should we pursue? Padme was a Sith. I'm seeing Padme was a Sith. Watch if Ahsoka raised Luke. Interesting. Very interesting. All right, we're going to go ahead and go with, Padme isn't Force sensitive. That is, honestly, I'm actually curious to see the quality of this one, in part because I know that Padme isn't Force sensitive. So how would she be a Sith? Are we just replacing her entirely? Or are we just giving her force sensitivity for the sake of this? I would ask, like, okay, how is Padme, even if she's Force sensitive, going to become a Sith Lord or a Sith? And the answer is pretty easy. I mean, she's on, she's the queen of Naboo, and Palpatine is the senator of Naboo. And she's literally a fucking 12-year-old child or something when she becomes queen. So if she's that young and in a position of high power and governance, and Palpatine is her link to the greater galaxy through the Senate, then there's going to be connection there. Palpatine will sense that she's Force sensitive. He'll want to corrupt her, control her. I mean, why not? But that would be the connection that she has to Palpatine if she is Force sensitive. And I do think that you'd have to change the canon to make her Force sensitive for this to work. I mean, I don't imagine. I mean, look, I can contrive of things. There is a robe made by an ancient Sith Lord that if you put it on, it gives you Force sensitive powers. If you're non-Force sensitive, it's not like you become ultra powerful, but you do get powers and you can use them and train in the Force. So like you could do that, but that's kind of lame. You could also slap Dallas's mask on her face, but now it's like we're not even talking about Padme. I mean, yeah, I get Force sensitive, but I also get possessed by Darth Nihilus. So there are a few ways in Star Wars to get Force sensitivity without being born that way. But for the most part, the trade-offs, the caveats, they're kind of funky or weird, and they don't normally work well. So yeah. Let's see here. We'll go ahead and check out what if Padme was a Sith. Oh, wow. There are lots of parts. Okay. Yes. So these are a bit long. I'm afraid I have to save these for personal watch time. I want to try to keep whatever videos you watch somewhere in or under 10 minutes. Otherwise, I will be here forever. And I do need to get to the writing. So let's look for something a little bit shorter. Something under 10 minutes or at 10 minutes. No more if possible. Let's take a look. Mikazuchi says, as much as I love Kane for the memes, I prefer that he'd continue to be portrayed as a genuinely competent leader. Well, yes, I hope I haven't portrayed him any differently. I've barely portrayed him at all, to be fair, but I don't think that you could call his portrayal in my series so far incompetent. Let's see here. I have a question. What are your plans for Luke and Leia in your story, and how different are they from canon Star Wars? And sorry if my English is bad. No problem, Lucas. They are. It's going to be fairly different. I can't give any big spoilers because, fuck, I can't even talk about this at all. Like, let's say that maybe they're existentially challenged in this story in certain ways, and the ultimate outcome is going to be very different. It might be divisive, it might not be. I hope that I justify it as a story comes up, but you will have to wait and see on that one. That's going to be big, very, very big, very huge, very central to Anakin Skywalker and where he ends up in this story. Let's see here. I'd love to see General Grievous enhanced with nano droids that have replicated the structure of midichlorians and therefore artificially channel the Force. So they tried that, not with artificial midichlorians, but they gave General Grievous transfusions of the lame Grievous and the true Grievous. They gave him transfusions of midichlorians when he was changed into this final form, and it had absolutely no result. And I have an explanation for that, by the way, but that is also spoilers. Wait for more Anakin and Kaon stuff to get into midichlorians and their relationship to blood, the Force, and the warp. And we'll get around to that. It's going to be fun. Let me see here. There's a way in Jedi Outcast, imbue crystals with the Valley of the Jedi and implant them in people. Yeah, you're right. The Reborn. To be fair, they're not as strong as most natural-born Force users. Or was it not that they're not as strong that they burn themselves out? I forget. There's some sort of health challenge with the Reborn, but it's not a... you could have a Reborn main character, I think so. So yes, the Valley of the Jedi, the crystals at the Valley of the Jedi, which, if I'm not mistaken, I could be mistaken here. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I might seriously be wrong on this, so do correct me if I am. But from my understanding, the Valley of the Jedi, isn't that where Bane detonated the thought bomb? Isn't that where it was? I could be really wrong, so, don't shame me too much. Let's see here. Caiaphas is legitimately one of the best commissars in the Imperium, and it's not just because of dumb luck. No, it's not. He chalks it up to dumb luck. But we can all actually blatantly see that the man is suffering from severe imposter syndrome, but that he is a very legitimately impressive man. Oh, hey there, bud. Come here. Everyone say hi to Dio. You see that heart on his head? You see how he's got that heart in the middle of his head? That's why he's Dio. That and he's blonde. He's too sweet though. Oh yes, yes. Good boy. Here, have a treat. There you go. Oh. So let's see here. Hey, fan, if you do ever intend to inject the Necrons into the narrative, don't shush. In what manner would you intend to do so? I think having a very small contingent of a Necron overlord, a Cryptek, and some. Okay, so I have a. Okay, so I have a thing. I have a thing Necron related. I don't know if I'll be able to fit into the series at this point. And if I am not able to, I will just have a stream and just expound upon the entirety of my my intention there. Excuse me. But there is a Necron tie-in. It's not insignificant either. That is potentially there in the soup. We'll see if I end up having to scoop it out, but it would not take the form of a Cryptek or a Necron Overlord or anything like that. But it would be very involved. You guys will like it. It will be a shame if I can't put it in, but I am but one man, at least for now. So let's keep going. Next up, Jar Jar. Jar Jar is a Sith. I know that Jar Jar is a Sith. What, you think that I've gotten this far and I am not aware of the fact that Jar Jar was the original Darth Tyrannus? It even makes sense. Jar Jar turned evil, looks more like a dinosaur, and it's Darth Tyrannus, and you can see it. And come on, George Lucas does not think super deeply about the Darth names. You know what I'm saying? We ended up with Darth Tyrannus 2.0, which was Count Dooku, because George Lucas lost his nerve with Jar Jar Binks. But we can see like incontrovertible evidence that Jar Jar Binks was very strangely connected and like doing very strange things in the first movie. And given that, you know, George Lucas likes parallels and mirrors and stuff, having a tall, evil, goofy guy to parallel Yoda as Darth Tyrannus, heck, man, we don't even know, because like, can you imagine? I honestly think that would have been way more compelling. I wish he had stuck it through, because we only hated Jar Jar because we actually 100% bought into. Like, he succeeded too well. He did with Jar Jar what he actually kind of failed to do, at least with me, with Yoda, because I knew that the little fucking funny guy was Yoda. They're out there looking for Yoda. They're looking for Yoda. Who's this guy? He's where Yoda should be. He's Yoda, okay? Him being small and green didn't convince me, at least, even as a kid, that Yoda wasn't Yoda. But it's really important to note that they weren't looking for Darth Tyrannus. They didn't even know Darth Tyrannus' fucking name. So it works really great for him to have been Darth Tyrannus, because it really would have come out of fucking nowhere. And god damn, imagine Anakin. Like, that would have also lended weight to Anakin turning to the dark side, especially if Darth Tyrannus, you know, Darth Jar Jar, if he was the one who helped to seduce Anakin to the dark side alongside with Palpatine, which is like fucking Barney revealing to you, like, ho, it is your destiny to embrace chaos. Like you know, like a childhood icon of your own, and the person that helped to save you. And also, you know, as a kid, a person who brought you great joy as just a silly part of your life is now telling you, yeah, the Jedi have betrayed you. They abandoned your mother. They didn't do right by you. They're not going to do right by you or by any of us. They're going to kill us all just because we're Sith. And then I would love this. Okay. And then instead of having Anakin kill Darth Tyrannus where he killed Count Dooku in the original movie, okay, you have him capture Darth Tyrannus, because he won't kill Jar Jar Binks. You know, he loves Jar Jar Binks. Jar Jar Binks is his friend. So he doesn't kill Jar Jar, right? But he captures him, okay? And then that's why Jar Jar is there later on to be in the story, because he's in Republic custody. And, you know, the whole movies leading up to this would have to be very different. Of course, like episode 2, totally redesigned, at least in certain portions. But you have this happen, and ultimately Jar Jar gets out. Like Obi-Wan goes out to hunt General Grievous. They already have Jar Jar in custody. Hell, it can even be from Jar Jar Binks that they learn where General Grievous is. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot that opens up there. But Jar Jar gets loose while the Jedi are out of the house, basically, and he goes to fight and kill Yoda. You get what I'm saying? And Yoda kills Jar Jar Binks and fucks up Anakin's brains, because, you know, again, though we make fun of Jar Jar and we don't like a lot of what he infused with so much like consistency into the first movie, the idea that he is a whimsical childhood companion of Anakin Skywalker, who is actually this evil Tyrannosaurus fucking monster being, who then gets killed at the wrong moment by Yoda, thus turning Anakin to the dark side. This shit could be really compelling. Obviously, a whole lot of recombobulation goes on, and I am not saying that this would be better than the way it actually came out, for sure. I would like it more personally because I don't like the idea of wasting Jar Jar and all that time. Like, Jar Jar Binks becoming Darth Tyrannus salvages all of the previous Jar Jar time. That was basically worthless or close to it in the first movie. Like, only a few of the jokes really hit. Now suddenly, that has intense rewatchability. Intense. You want to go back and watch the first movie now because you are so aware that Jar Jar Binks was actually an evil piece of shit. So, I mean, that would have been incredible, in my opinion. But again, I mean, if you were to say, okay, trade that future for this future, now you're making me make hard choices. Let's see here. Keeping this going. Let me see here. I'm sorry, guys. I have to scroll forward again a lot because there's a lot of comments. Let's see here. Could Aayla Secura possibly receive a vision from the Emperor in a similar way to the priest in the Last Church did after surviving a battle, believing that he saw God saying, "Why do you deny me?" Is it possible? All things are possible. Is it in any way likely to happen at all? Extremely unlikely. For one thing, if the Emperor could reach out to touch a Jedi and give them a vision and to try to compel them to do something, the only way it would ever be Aayla Secura at all, for any reason, is if Aayla Secura was in a time, in a place where only she could do a thing, and the Emperor was forced to choose that. That is the only circumstance under which Aayla Secura is going to have a vision from the Emperor, because the Emperor gets to choose. And Aayla may not be, in my canon, Aayla is not an alien. I mean, to be frank, and I know that a bunch of you guys have already heard this. I've had after talks about this, but Aayla Secura is an abhuman because Twi'leks are abhumans. And they're abhumans because they can, without assistance, breed with humans and produce more humans. That's the funny thing, is they don't even often produce more Twi'leks. Sometimes they do, but what seems to be in the books and stuff, what seems to occur much more often is that you get humans with cool hair colors, like natural blue or natural green or natural red hair colors and eye colors, but they do come out human. No Leku, okay? Like I don't know what to tell you. They're gonna come out way more human than Twi'lek, and it's weird because Twi'leks have an extreme biological difference from humans in their digestive systems, in their metabolisms, and obviously in the whole cranial baggage they've got going on. But you can't deny what's there. And you know what? The people in KOTOR with SWOTOR, they gave us an explanation for it, that the mother computer of the Rakatan basically just redesigned humans over and over and over again so they could be used as slaves in different planets at different purposes, because the Rakatan just liked humans a lot. I don't like, when I think about why the Rakatan would like humans as opposed to any other slave race, when we see the Empire using slave races that are way easier to use than humans, I think it's because humans resent what's happening to them. I think that part of the reason was because humans always crave freedom. They always crave to better themselves and to better their situation, if not for themselves and for their children. And this would cause this angst and this pain in their human slave populations. Like, the psychology of mankind is what they valued, because oppressing them gave them power. You have to remember that their technology and all of their personal strength was fueled by the dark side. And the dark side grows with misery, pain, anguish, desperation, and ambition, all things which are bred from this horrific condition. And they were like, well, look, there are other aliens that we have here that we could enslave, like fucking Geonosians. But the fact of the matter is that it's only the Geonosian queens who are really suffering from their enslavement. The Geonosian population is already basically purpose-built to be laborers and workers till death. So while they may be even more effective, for us personally, the Rakatan Empire, they aren't the best, because we want a mildly force sensitive race with a generally high frequency of force sensitives that can touch the warp a lot, but not too much. Touch the force a lot, but not too much, and fill it with their misery as we oppress them and force them to oppress each other with the hunger dogs and stuff. So I think that's why they then took the human template, because another thing that I keep saying is like a big reason why, like, for example, Togrutas. I consider Togrutas abhumans. Why do I consider them abhumans? Well, they may not be able to interbreed with humans, but the biggest reason is because obviously a lot of similarity in the body plan. But the biggest reason is because mentally, Togrutas are almost exactly human. There is a little bit of proclivity difference because of their biology and because of just certain environmental factors. But on the whole, if you are talking to a Togruta through a hole in the wall, you'd have to fish around to figure out that they're a Togruta and not just a person that's like a human being. And this leads into what I was thinking. Why are the Togruta this way? Why are so many of the aliens in Star Wars this way, but not all of them? Because the Rakata actually conquered most of the galaxy. They destroyed and drove to extinction loads of alien species, and they kept humanity around as dark side cattle to make us capable slaves because we're so multi-purpose. We can do a lot of things and learn a lot of things relatively quickly. We're useful, but also we suffer. And so lots of dark side. And they were like, okay, well, we need more useful slaves for this. And the humans just aren't cutting it. They're not up to our standard. We keep killing them because we keep getting impatient with them because they can't fucking do this right. And so instead of finding other aliens to fill that niche that wouldn't have fulfilled that primary niche of like, we want slaves that power our empire through their emotions, they just radically redesigned humans for different purposes and created populations of these near humans all over the place. So whenever I see a species in Star Wars that shares the body plan of humanity like a lot, and very importantly, they also have an insanely close, very, 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 very close mental alignment with standard baseline humanity, that's the mother. That's the mother machine. That is the Rakata creating offshoots. And I'll remind you guys that for the most part, you cannot interbreed with Ogrins. You cannot interbreed with Ratlings. And I mean, with one very notable exception, which basically makes it canon, but with one exception, you're not supposed to be able to interbreed with squats at all. Eisenhorn's story sort of fucks with that Ravner story, I think. But yes, typically speaking, one of the qualifiers for abhuman, like, okay, when has a human gene species drifted so far that we're going to call them an abhuman instead of just a different human from a different planet? Because if you read around Warhammer 40K, you find that there are a lot of weird humans that have taken a lot of weird technological and biological adaptations that are still within the line of what allows them to be called baseline. And where is the line? Well, there are a few. The biologist ultimately determines this, but there are a few lines. And one of the big lines is when you cease to be able to interbreed with baseline humans. In fact, that one is such a big line that you can have a relatively low amount of observable physiological differences with baseline humanity, but the moment that line crosses, you're basically automatically an abhuman at best. Like that's a big one. That's a really big one. And I agree. In fact, insofar as like measurements you could use to determine that kind of thing, I think that that's probably a very logical one. When your genes cease to become compatible to the point that you can't even create mules, well, that's meaningful. That means something. Sorry, I'm going off on tangent after tangent after tangent. I don't even remember why I started talking about this. Let me continue on. Let me see here. Scrolling down. Squats are technically genetically modified clones. Yes, you are right. But at the same time, it is implied that while Ogrins are not implied to be clones, they are implied to have been intentionally genetically modified. Like prisoners taken to high gravity worlds to mine, and they were made dumb and docile to make them easier to control, and super strength, not just to survive the high gravity environments, but also specifically to mine and haul and carve up massive amounts of stone. And the vicious cycle was that, you know, the dumber we make them and the more docile we make them, the less resourceful they are, which means they can't use these complex machines to do their jobs. And so it ended up reducing to that's like, okay, let's just make them as strong as the fucking machines. And now you have these Ogrins who are as powerful as motherfucking tractors, who are as dumb as tractors, doing tractor work on these planets up until the fall of the First Federation and the Dark Age. And then we rediscover them and we adopt them in as abhumans. More or less, this seems to be what's going on. Let me see here. Bolter propellant is also its explosive charge. So further shots are high armor pen and low explosive power. Closer shots are the opposite of further shots. So that's kind of cool in my opinion. I agree, that is cool. And it speaks to the sort of super versatile design that the Emperor was instilling into the base Space Marine project. So I like that. Good observation. Something I've noticed that you're including all these things from 40K that affect the Star Wars galaxy. How is the Star Wars galaxy going to alter the Imperium, the Imperium forces or the people? It's already started to, as you can see. So the problem is that I can't talk about that as freely because I can talk about changes to the big, gigantic span of the Star Wars galaxy, and you don't necessarily know what characters will particularly funnel that through. There are like endless characters in the Star Wars galaxy, like named characters, and they could all have different roles in these things. Because of the vagueness of it and the span of it, I can speak about it in that way, and you won't really be able to tell who is going to be important for these things and where these things will impact. The 40K side isn't big. It's not nearly as big, and the character roster isn't nearly as big, at least not yet, which means that it's very dangerous for me to talk about those changes without implying that the Inquisition is going to do this, the Adeptus Mechanicus will do that. And if the Adeptus Mechanicus does a particular thing with a particular technology, then you'll be like, oh, well, that's probably that tech priest. And then it's like, I don't want to give too many spoilers, and I don't want to give too many clues that I don't have to give. But rest assured that they will be altered and they will be changed. It will be very dramatic and it will be very central to the story because the way they are is what's driving a lot of the current drama of the story. And so if that changes, alters, shifts in one way or the other, it alters and shifts the drama and the narrative one way or the other. But it will. So let's see here. Wait, doesn't that mean all humans of Star Wars are basically to be exterminated by the Imperium, considering the absolute no policy towards any human genes messed up by Xenos? Kind of. I'll say this. The Emperor made very interesting value judgments during the Great Crusade. And one of them was this, but it's in large part because you have to understand the contextual difference. The Emperor was coming out of the Dark Age of technology, where there was this big span of time where mankind was just falling and being taken advantage of horrifically by a bunch of actual horrific aliens. And the reason that this policy was in place was because the ultimate outcome is vulnerability to aliens in one way or the other, because a lot of these aliens that altered mankind did so with like a lot of psychic prescience and even chaos influence. The context here is extremely different. The Emperor will look upon a galaxy that has been this changed in this way for like double and a half the time the Imperium has existed, if not more. Like 4 times the length of the Imperium's entire history after he was sat down have passed, and mankind has been this way. So it's not hard for him to verify that, okay, the aliens didn't change them that much. In fact, it would be kind of fucking nuts because he'd be like, wow, even the really alien-y looking human offshoots that the aliens made are more human than alien. And of course, I explained the reason for that. It's vital for the Rakata to satisfy that part. But funny enough, their evil desire to keep humans human enough to suffer like humans is also what has made all of these species so incredibly human. There may be some that need to be exterminated or canceled away, but the other thing that you have to take into account is this. The Emperor isn't fair. He is practical. So he looked at a planet or a star civilization of a certain amount of systems that are made up of these dubious humans that have been altered within the last X thousand years since the Dark Age of technology. And he's like, yeah, that's not a chance I'm going to take. We don't have the leeway to take it. And frankly speaking, you guys are just a tiny little pitiful fucking speck on the map. I can easily overrun you, overtake you, destroy you. And I'm going to. And so he did. But for the same reason that he doesn't fuck around with the navigator houses, I don't think he would make that kind of proclamation in the Star Wars universe. I mean, the first question the Emperor would ask himself is, okay, well, what is more trouble for me to point by point verify who in this galaxy can or can't be saved, or to fight the entire galaxy at the same time? It's not hard to know which way you're going to go. You're going to try to salvage what you can, because to fight all of it is an untenable situation. You can even see Orion and several other commanders beginning to realize similar things. You just can't play that game unless you have the punch to bring it. Maybe if he brought the entire Imperium of Man, he could try that. But I'm going to be honest. If you bring the entirety of the Imperium of Man into Star Wars and have them declare all-out war against literally everything and not stop, Death Stars are going to get built and crazy amounts of destruction is going to happen. Warhammer 40K will cleave into the Star Wars universe, and it will cause some horrific damage. Several species will go extinct, technologies lost forever, infrastructure never to be recovered, but there will be Death Stars, and they will fire, and they will blow up planets, and they will blow up massive starships, and the war will ultimately turn into a fucking bloodbath, because we see what happens in the Dark Empire series. We see what happens when Star Wars treats itself like Warhammer 40K and goes into all-out war. We get insane developments of technology, massive increases in destructive power, Jedi hunting droids that could contend potentially with Space Marines. These are things that are in the future, but they don't come about as a process of time passing. They only come about as a process of pressure application. And that isn't something that the Space Marines or the Imperium is unaware of. They know that, yeah, well, you put a rabid animal to, put its back against the wall, and it gets crazier, it gets nutser, it gets able to defeat you potentially. And when we're looking at numbers so disparagingly fucking like you have to understand, man, the Republic is way bigger than the Imperium. It's much larger, because the Republic encompasses like all of the first of all, the Star Wars galaxy is larger, but second of all, the Republic encompasses worlds that are like both human habitable worlds and every other kind of world that can harbor any other kind of life. It's just, you can't really compete them. And while the ultimate population density of the Imperium versus the Republic is another question, because there are a lot of backworlds in the Republic and there aren't a lot of backworlds in the Imperium. It's still the case that city planets and ecumenopolises are not uncommon in Star Wars. Taurus, Coruscant, Trantor. And I know that some of you are going to say Trantor is also a planet in Star Wars. It's actually a really big, very important planet, but they never go there for fear of copyright, right? But they pay homage to the original city planet by having a planet named after it in the Republic. Metalorn, Mechus, there are a lot of totally industrial or totally city worlds in Star Wars, to the point that they're not referred to as like, oh no, an industrial world, we have to save that. It's kind of like, oh, well, this particular industrial world has this particular species on it, and they make this particular product, and that's why we have to save that. But industrial worlds are not super rare in the Republic, especially not in the mid-rim or the core. And fuck, once the Galactic Empire kicks in, they start transforming and strip mining loads and loads of outer rim planets that's already happening, but they kick it up to like 11. So, there you go. Let's see here. So to answer the question, no, I don't think they would do that, but not because it doesn't match up to their ideology, more because it's an untenable proposition, and it's not necessary because the context isn't the same. But more because it's untenable than the context. If they could get away with it, context be damned. So let me see here. Hey, fan. Working, just wanted to drop in quick to wish you well and hope you're doing good. Been a fan since the beginning, and will be a fan long after, homie. Yo, thank you, man. Damn. Thank you. Seriously, thank you. That was feet. I just received a wholesome message from Fetus Deletus. I love the internet. Like fucking. Okay, so let's see here. Scrolling. If you're gonna make the use on Vong a main player in the story, would I recommend Evan Nora 95's video? Was Anakin Solo a waste of a character? Because he has a part of the episode where he explains some stuff, I think is what you're saying. That was Vigo. Interesting. Okay, let's take a look. Let's see if that video is inside of the limit here. Let me think here. I just brain farted. What was the question again? Go back again. Oh, right. Was Anakin Solo a wasted character? All right. Anakin Solo was a character. Was Anakin Solo a wasted character? Well, that's a 44-minute long video, guy. All right. I'm gonna kick into the writing pretty soon now. Because we're getting kind of long in the tooth here for how long the video's been going on for. I'm getting close to an hour, so let's go ahead and get something going here. Do you guys know any cool game trailers I'm unaware of? Anything cool? Just get me in the mood to have explosions in my brains. Let's see here. Lucas 9K, while I wait for someone to answer that question, Lucas 9K says, when I add a new character, do I read everything about them to make sure that I get them as right as possible? Read everything about them. Do you mean, do I read all the material that they appear in? No, I do not. I have probably read all of the material they appear in nonetheless, but I don't reread all of it. I do go back through their information. I'll look at summary videos. If there's a particularly influential piece of work, I may reread that. But I would be lying by a lot if I said that I go through all of this stuff whenever I introduce a new character, because a lot of these characters appear tertiarily in a bunch of stories, and those things are important to note, but it's much easier for me to get those notes from a character recap than it is for me to get them by painstakingly piecing together all of their lore and canon. It also causes like details to get lost in the weeds. It's a big story. Story's like a forest, has a lot of plants, a lot of trees. And I'm trying to examine like the one. So let's see here. Doesn't make the Republic? The Republic. So Jello Jai says, doesn't the Republic only make up like less than half of the galaxy? No, it makes up more than half of the galaxy. The unknown regions are not half the galaxy, at least not the last time I checked. But it is a big honking portion. That said, you have to remember that in Star Wars, planets are not made uninhabitable at the same frequency as you have in Warhammer 40K, and also planets are generally human habitable. They may have a bunch of things to help shield people from the pollution that the Imperium itself creates, and to help make it more livable. But typically speaking, most Imperial worlds are somewhere in the I can breathe outside most of the time realm of things, and if not, they're in the I can breathe outside if I have a tube in my nose realm of things. Star Wars has planets that are legitimately entirely alien and fully populated with millions or billions of sentient species. Like, that's kind of the issue, is that the Imperium has to work with just mankind over a 10,000 year long span of expansion, and the Republic has like tens of thousands, maybe even millions of alien species to work with. And it's over the course of like 25,000 years of expansion. In fact, the Republic has expanded and contracted several times throughout history because of how big it is, and the Imperium hasn't, because the Imperium doesn't even have half the history of the Republic. The Republic is a much older beast, and it's a beast that is way more inclusive. they don't have to conquer worlds. They just co-sign them. So when it comes to the actual population numbers or the actual number of populated planets, I think that it is definitely the case that the Republic beats out the Imperium. And you have to remember that the Imperium spans the breadth of the galaxy, but if you were to actually color in the systems the Imperium owns versus the systems owned by other things, you'll begin to realize it's not like the Imperium rules the galaxy. It's just spread out across it. But there aren't any really cohesive star borders. There's Orc worlds here and Eldar craft worlds here and all kinds of individual alien species interspersed between the stars. So it is the case that while the span of the Imperium is galactic, the actual inhabited density is not. Let's see here. Manga is so good says, video recommendation, Halo 3 ODST live action trailer. It's not new, but definitely something that gets you in the groove. Yes, I will say this. I think I watched that back in the day a long time ago, and I will watch it again because it is good. Let's see here. Halo ODST live trailer. Heck yes.
Rated M for mature.
Man, it's been a long time. Oh, Halo.
Lundi, Eni, Orbidi,
proper military sci-fi. Seriously. At least at the time of this trailer.
T-shirts!
Right of line, Ranu,
God, man, you can feel the passion. Like, whoever designed and directed this really felt liked what it was. Didn't need to change it, but was like, this is great. Let me express this. God damn, I'm impressed. Good. Why can't the Halo show be like this? That we had the formula. It's right in front of us. Fuck. Oof. Fucking God, everything is so good.
Lundi, Eni, Orbidi, Galaan, Veriasi.
God.
Right of line, Ranu.
I love the visor effect. God damn it, man. We were so close. Oh, my heart. My heart. We're so close. So many years.
Xbox 360 Elite, now $100 off.
Oh, man. You guys believe that? Just fuck. So fucking inspired. No Master Cheeks. Cape, get out of here. Get out of here, Cape. No Master Cheeks. There wasn't a single set of fucking cheeks in that fucking trailer. It was great. The music does just slap. The music does just slap. Like, holy shit. Like, also, I wonder, hold on. Let me see if I can't find it in the comments here. Because the song is like in I think Gaelish. I might be wrong, but this wasn't recommended. You searched it. That means something. that is hilarious. 100% true. You get a thumbs up. Hold on, let me see here. Still one of the best. Ah, darn it. Does no one have a translation of the song? Hold on. ODST live trailer song lyrics. Let's see if that doesn't come up. Because there was I remember looking this up. There we go. Here we go. I remember this. I remember it being really cool. The actual like lyrics of the song. Light of Iodine. Oh man, that sounds so cool.
Ka flundi eni
Yeah.
orbidi gal an wirjasi
From his rightful victory,
iditni
no one can overcome us. We are glad to plunge feet first into onward. In the knowledge we will rise. That right there is worthy of a Space Marine chapter. Just so cool. Yeah, man. Let me see here. Let's see here. Manga is cool. You should use this song for a cinematic intro or outro like back in the day. Yeah. Yeah, you know what? I'm probably going to. I mean, God, it sounds so good. And when you know what it means too, it should be in 40K. It should be in 40K. And you know what's great about it is that it can be in 40K because 40K is the future. Like in 40K, I am canon. I'm just psychic or something. But like in 40K, or rather the people at GW are psychic, and I'm a fan of theirs. But in 40K, this world came. This world existed. It's just in the future. So this song definitely could exist. And it could have been adopted as an ancient ode of human war. I can easily see Space Marines adopting that, honestly. Let me see here. The language of my people. Too bad I don't know how to speak it myself. Imperial Guardsmen, you must do better! You must learn the ancient words. Let me see here. This sounds like the theme song for the Spears of the Emperor. It could be. It is really good. Really, really good. Space Wolves. I'd wish, but no, it can't be Space Wolves manga because Space Wolves, you need to insert wolf in there way more. Like there's not nearly enough wolf. You need to increase the magnitude of wolf by at least tenfold. Let's see here. Halo 3 Starry Night trailer. All right, Chronicler of Legends. Let's do that one. Halo 3 Starry Night.
You ever wonder what's up there? Like what? Maybe someone up there was wondering what it's like here.
Oh.
Guess. Do you think we'll ever meet them? I hope so. Don't you?
Maybe not. Maybe fucking not.
Will ever meet them?
That puts the helmet on. It stays on. Here's the thing. I have to pause because if you are actually a Halo fan, right, and you were actually psyched up by these trailers, you wouldn't make the decision to remove Master Chief's helmet, not until like a very pivotal moment at the very end or climax of your story or a part of it. And you wouldn't keep removing it. Like, is it like we're speaking a different language with these fucking creatives and these corporates? Because it's like, just find someone who likes the stuff. It shouldn't be that hard, and it doesn't need to be changed. If you would like something different, that's all the more power to you. But you can make new things, and if they're good, they'll be good. And maybe it takes a while for them to launch, but trying to ride the coattails and the laurels of a different franchise that has earned its place, to make something entirely new and just dress it up and try to trick people and gaslight them. I really don't know where this works and why it's being done so much. It only loses money. No one is fooled. You know, you're buying a fan base. Why spurn them? If you watch this and you like this, Master Cheeks doesn't exist to you. It isn't a thing that you would have created voluntarily. And that's what fucking freaks me out about the Halo show, you know?
Not yet.
Rated M for mature.
God, the fucking memories. Why does the Acolyte have to appear on suggested things for me, man? I can't. Oh, Jesus. All right. Let's go ahead and see here. Hail to the glorious butt cheeks of mankind. Man, I wish that I could say that. I wish that I could say, hail to the glorious butt cheeks of mankind, and it not be a completely sarcastic statement. Like, imagine if he had been really cool, right? And then at the climax of part of the story, the Covenant find a way to attack or try to assassinate Master Chief when, like, he's getting his armor upgrade from like Halo 2, right? And he is actually naked. And then Master Chief appears as Master Chief should appear, fucking pounding the Covenant. And that would have been if they had played the series right and earned some goodwill. They could have earned the goodwill for a somewhat comedic scene where Master Chief tears the head off a few fucking elites while totally buck-ass naked, therefore showing it's the man, not the armor. But the armor is important, okay? You can't just, you got to earn your way there. You see what I'm saying? But that would have been great. And then we could say, all hail to the glorious Master Cheeks of mankind. And it wouldn't be a sarcastic statement of pain and cope. Okay. So I would love to get pounded by Master Cheeks. All right, Prophet. Settle down. He's not in the chat. Oh man. Halo was so cool. It really was. You know, let's not get into it. Let's see here. All right. One more thing, and then I'll hop right into the writing because I'm beginning to feel it, you know. But I'm also feeling pain from what we lost. So let's see here. Have you guys seen the Forever War? Let me ask that. Have you guys actually seen the Forever War? That is a very interesting game. Fans of 40K, I think, will like it. I've already watched the trailer, but I will watch it with you guys and introduce it to you if you guys have not seen it. Let's go ahead and take a look here. Imperial Guardsman, the pain makes you stronger. Pain is just weakness leaving the body. Doom Dark Ages. Okay, Doom Dark Ages. I haven't actually finished Doom Eternal. I'm slacking on a lot of video games, guys. A lot of them because I've been enslaved. I've been enslaved by a most nefarious force, a power that I am finding harder and harder to resist. I've been enslaved by Elden Ring. I've been playing the shit out of it. That shit is a time eater, but God, it brings me so much joy. Holy shit, Elden Ring. God, such a fun game. All right, let's see here. What was the suggestion? Random Yorkshireman says, "Hey mate, just popping in to say you're a legend, so keep on it, fella. All the best to you and yours." Yo, thank you, man. Jesus, thank you. I'm honestly really glad that what I produce actually is enjoyed so much because, you know, it just began as a vent, more or less, to get these things out of me and out to somebody who might enjoy them. I'm just glad it's so many people who can. All right, let's see here. Let's see here. Doom Dark Ages. That's what it was. Sorry, I got the memory of a goldfish. Straight up. Doom Dark Ages trailer. Let us take a look. Before he became a hero, he was the super weapon of the god. Oh my god. This is an open world Doom game. I will laugh. I will laugh. How would you even do this? I'm reading too much into it. Too much stuff into it. Who's that? Oh, I see who that is. Good old shotgun. Oh, come on. A shield! Yo, is this actually a Doom RPG? What am I looking at here? God damn. Yeah, I mean, Doom is good. Doom. Fuck, no one learned things Doom for. Doom is good. Doom is always a lot of fun. A shield. Like the fucking Warhammer 40k Captain America. Oh, very nice. All right, like is that a segment of the game, or is that like a part of the game? Like, am I looking at a Doom open world experience? Because like, you know, normally I'm not super in favor of that stuff, just because of like, I don't know, how do I express this? Like, you know, I trend chasing. But I'm not gonna lie to you guys, you know, Dark Souls, even Bloodborne, which I got a little taste of, but you know, I didn't like them so much sometimes because I was like sort of forced down a certain path. Elden Ring, being open world, has fixed so much of that formula that is ridiculous. So who knows, man? I'm open worlds that are done well can be like orgasmic to be a part of, but there are a lot more lazy open worlds than there are actual like proper ones. And honestly, there are very few that are as good, like the world itself, as good, as detailed, with so many little secrets and things to find and so much glorious grandeur as the one in Elden Ring. And now I'm ranting about Elden Ring because I've been playing that shit out of that thing. Doom looks cool. This looks cool. I need more information. If it's just another Doom game with, you know, a shield and new weapons, oh, good on you. But I'll have to wait until I finish the Doom game, like, that I beat the main campaign. I'm on the DLC. I barely started the DLC for Doom Eternal. I have to finish that first before I go on to another, just, you know, expanded but still just Doom game. But if it's a Doom game with an open world, now you're tempting me. Let me take a look here. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead. A lot of you guys wanted to see the Forever Winter, so I'm gonna go ahead and put that on. Let me see here. What are you guys saying about? No, it's the same for me too. Watch Space Marine 2 overview. I may, but next time. I can't stand Doom 2016 awards. Doom Project Brutality mod by Martinzo is more than my thing. Cool. I don't know that. I'm not no. Giving side eye to Assassin's Creed. Get that shit out of here. We wait how many fucking years for Assassin's Creed to go to Japan? They go to fucking to Egypt, and you know, play as Egyptians. You go to Greece, you play as Grecians. You go to the Americas, you play as a Native American. You go to England, you play as an Englishman. You obviously shit. And we finally, Assassin's Creed. I mean, come on, we're gonna pretend that we weren't eager to see assassin ninjas and what that shit looks like. Are they white assassins, like white ninjas instead of dressed as black, or is it like? Is there an entirely different assassin organization preset there, and you're coming from another land to introduce assassins there before the Templars can? Can you imagine that? See, that would have been an example of a way that you could have introduced another ethnicity into this if you really wanted to. Like take it a little bit out of history and have it be more like. Have you guys watched the show Shogun? The show Shogun, like that, where you have the English and the Portuguese, the Catholics and the Protestants, neck and neck, headbutting each other, trying to get control of Japan. And you could very easily do that same conflict, with the Templars coming in and the assassins coming in, both organizations that are foreign to Japan. And they're now trying to struggle and fight with each other, with the daimyos and with the with the shogunate and with the emperor himself, potentially, depending on what era we're talking about here. Where I see my dogs playing in the background. We have them come in and we show that conflict, and we have it sort of play out as a parallel to the Catholic, Protestant, English, Portuguese arms race. And then you could have characters from different ethnicities. Hell, you could even have a black main character assassin who learns to be a ninja, but he's a fictional character. But he comes from the assassin cult or the assassin organization, and he arrives and he's taught to be a ninja by the local ninjas. And we get to actually explore the existing organizations in Japan and how for them, the assassins and Templars are all consumed in their war, like how the Catholics and the Protestants were for their contest. And then you show how, yeah, we're not going to let you trample over us, okay? Like you've come here to make us yours, but we are not here to become yours. That can be like part of the Japanese story. And I think the Japanese audience would have been very receptive to that, and it would have made a lot of sense. Instead, we're taking this guy who was maybe a retainer. Like I heard a lot of people say that Yosuke, he was a samurai because he was a retainer, and we can almost prove that. And, since he was a retainer, ergo samurai. No, my friends, I'm sorry to tell you this, my friends. That isn't how it works. The way that it works is that all samurai are retainers. Not all retainers are samurai. And when I say all samurai are retainers, I only mean the samurai who have a master. Ronin, who you could rightly call samurai, but are masterless samurai, are typically not retainers of anybody. But all samurai who are in like normal samurai condition and are employed by a lord are retainers of that lord. That is part of what makes them noble warriors instead of just men-at-arms or very skilled mercenaries. That there's a huge difference there. And I keep seeing people fucking split that. And I know the Japanese aren't going to buy it. They know what the fuck a retainer is. They know what the fuck a samurai is. They're not going to get confused by that. So honestly, I could go on a huge rant about this kind of topic and like how little sense it all makes and how companies are losing money. Like, I'm a hardcore liberal. I'm never afraid to say it. I'm never afraid to stand up for what I believe. But a lot of what I believe is not being represented anymore by people who call themselves liberal or more precisely woke. And I believe in diversity and inclusion, like as in like not barring people from being where they want to be and letting their merits determine their position. But it seems to have flipped to more like a forced diversity inclusion thing where you have two people who are good at a job and you dismiss one entirely because of their race and gender. It's just that the race and gender now is white and male instead of what it was before. And it's like the idea behind equal rights and liberalism wasn't to reverse that. It was to eliminate it. Am I crazy? I feel more and more like I'm crazy. At least watching the fucking Acolyte, I do. In any case, guys, I'm going to show you one more thing, the Forever War, because a few of you wanted to see it, and I'm actually eager to show it. Instead of you sharing something with me, I will share something with you this time. Let's go ahead and pop it up, and then after that, I'm going to slide right into my documents, and I'll begin doing a little bit of writing. I'll do that for about 30 minutes, let's say, and I'll answer some writing questions and try to stay on topic. I am a huge rambler and a huge ranter, and I go on tangents. So I will try not to do that once we get into the writing section, so you can actually hear my fingers tapping a bit. I understand if a bunch of you leave, there will be spoilers. And I understand if a bunch of you don't find it quite as interesting, because though you will be seeing the screen and you'll be seeing what I am typing in live action, it will be segments of me just typing, because I can't be looking at the chat and typing at the same time. I'm not quite that skilled yet. But with that said, let us go over to the Forever Winter. Forever Winter trailer. Call me a hopeful, guys, okay? Call me a hopeful. But shit looks really good. I have a sense for this kind of thing, okay? Like, people were like really ripping on me when Cyberpunk first came out. Oh, it's terrible. Oh, it's bad. And I was like, guys, I can see the passion. Even here at this stage, I can see that it is not terrible and unpolished because they don't care. They care so much. There's so much beauty in this game. Cyberpunk was one of the few games, not when it first released, but in the DLC. Oh, geez, such incredible stuff. In the DLC, you go to like this crazy casino, like incredible place that puts on a show. And it's like one of the only video games where, without it being part of the quest and totally unprompted, I just sat there and watched the show because it was like art. It was amazing. It was like this woman dancing to music, and she was hovering on this like anti-gravity stuff, and they were projecting holograms around her as she was doing it. And it was captivating, and I watched it without prompting. It was that good, and they made it that good on purpose. And you don't get there without fucking passion. And even though that wasn't there at launch, I could see the passion in the radio stations and the street designs. Shit was unpolished as all fuck, but you know what? So was the Phantom Menace. So was like all the prequel movies. That's where all the complaints come from. It's like a lack of a certain kind of polish, a certain kind of refinement. But the story was so... There was gold in it, and we could feel it, and we can feel it to this day. And I feel the same gold in this. Maybe I'm wrong, guys, but I feel it. You tell me what you think. Very grimdark universe. Be warned. Very grimdark universe. It's so cool. It has so much stuff in it. So, I don't know if they'll explain it in this trailer, but in this game, you are not the main character, at least not in the position you would normally take. You are a scavenger, trapped in a 3 or 4 way massive world war that no one can remember the purpose of. Weapons of every kind are deployed all the time. War has become a manufactured thing, self-sustaining. Cities are destroyed by day and rebuilt by AI manufacturers by night. Their programs sleep drifting, recreating monuments in twisted designs, reshaping battlefields into graveyards without a definition for what a graveyard even is. And in the midst of all of this, you are the scavenger trying to make some sense of it all. To claw one more day's worth of food or water or ammunition, while these massive, unknowable factions tear each other to fucking pieces. And they don't just use any kind of conventional weapon, as you can see. Every method of war is explored. Minds both human and mechanical, dedicated to learning how to destroy other people in more and more horrific ways in an attempt to win an unwinnable war that has no win condition, except to kill everyone who isn't on your side. And in that respect, you're lucky that you're not the biggest fish in the pond. Let me see here. Maybe one more. Let's see if we can't get a trailer where they tell us something about this. Let's see here.
War, famine, destruction, death.
Yes. All right.
Here's
Here we go.
20XX. Welcome to the future. The Forever Winter is a 4-player sci-fi tactical survival horror shooter that takes place in a future where massive armies are skinning the bones of our once beautiful Earth. You are a scavenger, lovingly referred to as a scav. Within this combat ecosystem, you assume the role of looter and survivor. Trapped between two warring military factions of the future, each with their own objectives. Outgunned, undersupplied, and constantly under attack, you must rely on cooperation and cunning to survive even minor enemy contact. Situational awareness is key in this world. Stop, look, and listen. Trigger discipline will save your life. A target missed is a bullet wasted, and not every battle is one worth fighting. Only kill what you can loot and get away with. Every time you open fire, you are ringing the dinner bell. Make it worth it.
God, like look at this stuff. So like look at these.
Fire, you are ringing the dinner bell.
These doll-like, creatures here. Like, you'll see these bodies strapped to them, and from what I understand, they're walking around scavenging the dead and the wounded to harvest their organs for use for whatever faction it is that they belong to. Like, I love that. That's detail and it's horror. It's so interesting. And it's one of the things that tells me, gives me that little spark, that little insight that, yes, these people are in it. They care. They are about this.
Make it worth it.
It keeps going. But it keeps going.
Welcome home, deep down in the guts of the city. Refugees seek shelter here, and they choose your level because you have one of the few things that matter. Water. H2O brings traders, shops, and allied mercenaries that have your six. If you want to survive, you'll need to pick up jobs from the two warring factions. Be smart about the jobs you take. The more a faction controls a sector, the more heavy units they will deploy, and the more dangerous it becomes. The more jobs you do, the more jobs you'll get, and the longer you'll keep everyone alive. No one gets by in this world all on their own, so don't be afraid to help others when you can. Donation stations are made available where high-level vets can share gear with low-level baby scavs. You were in their shoes.
Yo, when this game comes out, I will 100% play it, and I will play it with like whoever wants to play it with me. Okay, because this is I am even like the community building here where they're giving these options for high-level players to give over gifts to low-level players. Guys, that is good. That is good community building at the base right there. Who knows how it turns out? Maybe I'm just getting overexcited, but it feels right. At least from this trailer. Very good marketing, but it's selling me things that I want, not convincing me to buy things I don't want. And I like that. I appreciate that.
Wants to. Here you can customize your rig, an innovative modular platform that grants you advanced abilities. Pneumatic jump allows you to quickly traverse rough terrain and reach hard-to-get drops. Turrets allow you to shred, at least for a short time. And scanners allow you to scout ahead to plan your route. You want guns? You've got them. Modify and upgrade your firearms for the jobs you take. Always remember, the more gear and ammo you bring in, the less you can carry out. So spec accordingly. Once you're kitted up, it's time to enter the macro city of Lost Angels. Megastructures meant to house millions lie vacant, while automated underground factories churn out war machines by the minute. As the war rages and destroys the world by day, AI-driven machines nicknamed the Night Shift rebuild by night. Recovery units stalk the streets, dragging the wounded and the dead to be harvested for their organs.
Yeah, you see?
Learn your surroundings, avoid patrols, and maybe you can make it out alive.
So I hope that there's like lore in this world, like I want to go in and find out more stuff. I want to be able to like Elden Ring my way through this, where even if it's not outright told to you by anyone or written just straight in like a book, like picking up items, learning more things will give you pieces to this world building, not even just the story itself, but just to the world. I'm so interested. I want to know.
Every job has rewards and consequences. The details matter. Make sure to dig into the intel thoroughly before heading out. Missions may include sabotaging faction facilities, collecting debts, and good old-fashioned MDKs. No matter how easy you think the job is, don't get complacent. Things can change at the drop of a casing.
God, I love that.
Things can
Look
change at the
at
drop
this
of a
enemy design here. Like, what is this thing? I want to know.
casing. If by some chance you find something of real value, you will be hunted, and the factions will send bosses that far exceed your fire team's capabilities. Take note of their weaknesses and plan your strategy to take them down. Even fully geared, it will require coordination, teamwork, and a bit of luck. There are only 3 types of scavs: the fast, the smart, and the dead. So don't be ashamed to retreat if the fighting gets too hot. Remember, there are no heroes here. Just a few men and women running around in the dark with half-empty magazines. Forever.
That looks like something I could get invested in. That looks like something I could get invested into. I don't know about you guys. I'm going to check the chat right now, but you guys let me know. What do you think of this before we slide on into the writing? But come on. I mean, come on. Does not tickle your pickle a little bit? Not season your steak a slight amount? Let's see here. Warhammer Underhive the game. Yeah, but we have an Underhive game, and it's not like this. This is just so full, and listen, it could be. Like, I realize that the whole design of this game lends itself to being like, it looks like it could be an Underhive war on some planet the Imperium forgot that is simply in civil war like Krieg was, and the Imperium is just sitting it out for a few hundred years, and you're just stuck in the middle of that. Would be very cool, but look at how full it seems. You know what I'm saying? It looks like it's got those features, is what I'm saying. It's going in. It's basically a shooter dusters game that I play. Is that a game that already exists? I might check that out next time, Cape. Keep that around. If there's already something like that, I mean, I'm feeling the hunger, the itch, and I want to scratch. Let's see here. Needs more heavy metal, but it looks dope. Yeah, all right. Well, heavy metal, just start playing it, bro. Cosmic Hood is looking forward to it personally. I'm interested, at least. My computer will never be able to run this. I'll wait to see if it has a single-player campaign that I can circle around when the game becomes so old it's vaporware that normal computers can run. I feel you, son of eyeball. Let me see here. 25 minutes behind and running. Let's see here. Oh, hold on. I already 2 essay videos about this. I think you mean you already watched 2 essay videos about this. Yeah, there are a few. People can tell it. Like, creatives can smell the blood in the water. They can tell the meat is fresh. It's basically a third-person view Dusker. Maybe. I'll check that out. Please do this video next. Battletech Ghost Stories. I play it. David Champagne. Oh, maybe we'll play it together. I don't need it. I need it. Yes, Imperial Guardsmen. I feel that sentiment. A game like this where you play as the Death Corps of Krieg during the Krieg Civil War could be awesome. I hope this game will allow for mods. Also, Forever Winter will have an offline mode. I don't know. But I'll say this. The creators at face value seem pretty cool. Like, they seem like pretty cool people. I recognize a few of the names from some former studios. I see at least one person from former Activision before it kind of piped in there, and a few other people. I don't remember because I'm not looking at it right now, but I do remember some names that I recognize, and I remember thinking, oh, they're doing this now. Pretty cool. There's pedigree in it, is what I mean to say. There's pedigree. Let me see here. It certainly looks interesting. My favorite video game to play is Destiny, but might check this one out. Yeah. But man, when it comes out, if you can grab it on Steam sale at some point, as long as the game is good and you're hearing that it's good, then I'll probably still be on it. And I mean, right now, Elden Ring is my absolute crack. I downloaded the Seamless Co-op mod to play with my friends, and there's just something about watching a lone knight cavalryman just sitting there looking, hunting for the foul tarnished under the orders of Morgant. And what's that sound? Turn around and just fucking 5 people on horseback, 5 tarnished on Taurus just riding. Fuck this guy. It feels very gratifying, especially when you hit the tree sentinel with it. The game has been a whole lot of fun. And this game looks like it's going to be a whole lot of fun too. Let me see here. With this said, Trench Crusade, it's nice to see so many grimdark worlds popping up outside of 40K. Yeah, I know, right? Options. Giving us some options. I don't really see anything that I would replace Star Wars with yet, but God, I can't say I'm let's not get into that pain while as I'm about to go into right. So, speaking of which, let us go ahead and get onto that piece. There we go. This is a rough draft of what I have so far. I don't know how well you guys can actually see it on that little screen, but I'll go ahead and I guess I'll go ahead and I'll give an impromptu rereading up to the point that I'm at. It shouldn't be too far. I only started this a few days ago and haven't been able to revisit it. So let's go ahead and start from the top. Please forgive my mispronunciations and goobialities, as this will be quite unedited. So, he did not need a second glance. His perfected memory, recalling the details of the reports they had taken from their enemy at a whim. He compared them to the reality before his blazing eyes, and could immediately see the difference a mere 3 weeks of travel had made on the planet he intended to destroy. "This is new," said the gravelly rumble of Davik Thun's voice, his clawed hands rising to aim a sparking digit at the forward viewport, indicating towards the vast pattern of new structures he could see even here from space. No sooner had he spoken, however, than a rumbling began trembling the surface of his formidable ship. He did not need to ask a thing. "Master, the area we're in is heavily laden with mines. We've taken superficial damage upon arrival," reported one of the men who crewed the bridge of the Black Crimson. "Full stop," Davik Thun ordered. "Begin basic Crusader clearing pattern with all applicable points of defense, or with all applicable point defense weapons," he ordered gruffly, lowering his arms and loosening his shoulders. That says soldiers, it should say shoulders. Shoulders. Not sitting, but standing before his own command throne. "As you command," sounded off the bridge crew. Less than seconds later, the turrets aboard all of Davik Thun's invasion ships began to spit and sputter shells. The light around them the light around the looming vessels expanding and revealing them in the darkness of space as the mines were lit and detonated. Their near explosions trembled the ships, but they were not enough to defeat the void shields on the still vessels. They were enough to hold them still. Hold on, I think I'll put, however, they were enough to hold them still. Let me see here. "Master Thun, enemy ships are Master Thun, enemy ships are enclosing from all directions. They were waiting for us, sir," yelled one of the men viewing the sensors. Davik nodded. Contact ETA. Clear ETA. Crusader clear ETA. Now! He boomed. Enemy contact. 60 seconds. Mines cleared in 290 seconds. Crusader pattern clear in 43 seconds were the rapid answers he received. Heat all engines. Prepare forward planetary scans, the chapter master ordered, the men and women around him never ceasing their actions. Around them, their ships continued to spit fire, creating blossoms of light in the eternal night, even as the separatists closed in, beginning to open fire even before their effective weapons ranges had been achieved. Davik could see what they were attempting, how they were trying to drive them on, push them forward through urgency and fear. But the chapter master of the Crimson Sabers was not... Sabers. Crimson Razors. But the chapter master of the Crimson Razors was not a thing which could be made to fear. Or am I just forgetting what my own chapter is called? Hold on one second, guys. Let me take a look at something. No, I'm Crimson Razors. Yeah, I don't know why Crimson Sabers appears there. It's an entirely different chapter. Let me see here. But the chapter master of the Crimson Razors was not a thing which could be made to fear. For I am fear incarnate. The razor-toothed space marine hissed to himself, his unblinking eyes wide as the last of the forward-impeding mines burned to life and then faded to dust. All ahead, fool! Maximum burn! He bellowed, taking a step forward as he did, as though his very will could force the ship beyond its casual limits. And not only did the Black Crimson seem to respond, but all the vessels around it did, each already bearing blazing engines, only now allowed to release their pent-out fervor as jets of propelling, blazing plasma. The G-forces aboard the ships spiked, a quarter of the human crews falling unconscious at the sudden acceleration. But Davik Thune took no step back as he felt the deep thrill of speed rise in him, watching as the world of Hypori began to rapidly swell in the forward viewing ports. The sudden burning tails of each of Davik's vessels caused massive explosions behind them, detonating. Hold on. The sudden burning tails of each of Davik's vessels caused massive explosions behind them, detonating clouds of mines, which even seemed to help suddenly propel them forward, through the space they had cleared already. Floating spaceborne explosives to either side of the small fleet began to trail after them magnetically, several exploding as the point defense guns swiveled to neutralize them. But with no mines remaining before them, the ships escaped the cloud with only negligible damage. Soon, they were before the forward wall of separatist ships, their enclosure ensuring they could not escape the mines without first running through them. And this forward wall facing the planet had the most separatist ships within it by far. Right away, Davik Thune could see a strange oddity taking shape before him, even as he drew in breath for his next command. He would have ordered a ramming maneuver, but his keen, transhuman eyes noticed the angling of the vessels, how it seemed that they themselves were angling to ram. In picoseconds, his mind had pulled up all that he knew about this kind of encounter. About this encounter. And he knew that Captain Vordran had contacted him from the surface of the planet. "All ships, fire torpedoes!" he declared. Without question, the fleet obeyed, something he was proud of, for to most the maneuver would have seemed wasteful. Their ship-based torpedoes were some of the most powerful and high-yield weapons, but they were slow, ancient, and unguided. Firing them like this, with nothing to force the enemy to remain on course physically, would just mean that they would fly past, and at best, eventually hit the planet. But Davik Thun knew they would not dodge, for to do so would be to defeat the whole purpose of their placement, or so he suspected. And his suspicions were proven as the Confederate ships collided with the torpedoes headfirst. The resulting explosions were grand in the eyes of Thun, his every guess shown to be correct, as the unhuman starships of the Confederacy were not only consumed by the various effects of the torpedoes, but lent to those effects a cascading destruction, each one rupturing and exploding with payloads of mines that had been packed into their hangars, cargo holds, and decks, one catching another, and then another, and then another. Those that remained were shot down by the more conventional fire of the remaining Imperial ships, which blew through the clouds of debris like searing meteors. "The world is unshielded," a crewman reported through gritted teeth. Or rather, I should read that as, "The world is unshielded," a crewman reported through gritted teeth, the ship around them accelerating faster and faster, the man's face stretched by the force of it. "Detecting an IFF belonging to one of the ships that came with Captain Vordran on the surface of the planet," the man continued to report. "Let me guess," Davik Thun responded, barely seeming troubled at all by the intense gravity. "It is here," he said, pointing again with the massive... pointing again to the massive maze-like pattern he had indicated towards when they had first arrived. "Affirmative, sir," the crewman confirmed. "Start deep scanning and take us in. I won't leave Vordran and his men without confirming their deaths myself." And that is where I am at in this current piece here. Let's go ahead and take a look here. So, any questions at this point before I go ahead and start tapping away? And let me take a look. Thank you, guys. Let me see. Oh, yes. There will be a lot more Navy action, too. Let's see here. So I'm getting a question. How long does it take to build Star Wars capital ships? It depends entirely on the shipyard, but they can push them out really fast. Really, really fast. Like really, 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 really fast. I don't have a direct number for you as to how long, but know this. Kuat drive yards can push out Star Destroyers like a goddamn factory, and it does. How long and how expensive is it to build a shipyard? Shipyards take a very long time to build, and they're not easy to construct. They're usually generational projects. Like Kuat Drive Yards shipyard didn't come about overnight, and it defines the planet. the Adeptus Mechanicus may be able to erect them faster, but they wouldn't be of the same quality because, they'd have to be done super fast. And this is not something that gets built fast. Not at all. Maybe if the Adeptus Mechanicus made a ring of Arc Mechanici and converted it into an actual planetary ring, and if they had that many of them, then that could work. But just thinking about how many Arc Mechanicuses you would need to ring a planet should start to tell you how ridiculous it is to build these things. Let's see here. Will this General Grievous utilize Scorpionek Annihilator droids, the larger cousins of the Droidicas? No. They're categorically ineffective. They're very easy to outmaneuver. They're ridiculous. The Mandalorian shows you how a fucking band of relatively untrained noobs with guns that can't even hurt it can sit there and last forever against it. The Scorpioneks I don't find to be very impressive, and neither would Grievous. Not for fighting Space Marines. It's just not. You don't want to give them anything they can outmaneuver like that. He needs droids that are fast and that can hit hard, but that can follow orders and be competent and can be fast. That's a big deal here. Reaction time. Let's see here. Is the fight between Voldrin and Grievous still ongoing, or has that ended by this point? It's ended by this point. There's been like 3 weeks since the communication. So whatever way that went, it has gone. It has went. Let's see here. How strong is Davik Thune? You mean how strong is he in a fight? In a fight, Davik Thune is pretty strong. He is a very powerful melee combatant. Very difficult to defeat. Veteran of several wars, obviously. He's a chapter master. You wouldn't want to get into a fight with him. The question is, who are we scaling him to? But he's very powerful. He is very, very powerful. Come to think of it, were there any rogue traders that came with the 40K colonization fleet? Well, I think you might be a little behind. Keep reading. Will Gaxian's skull affect the warp around St. Lazarus in any way? Oh, well, keep reading. Your view on the Jedi that they were oversized. Your view on the Jedi that they were oversized kyber crystals, and would you put them in the story? Your view on the Jedi that were oversized kyber crystals. Do you mean the Iron Knights? I'm not 100% sure what you're referring to. So I can't really answer the question concisely. How is the Emperor reaching the Imperial Remnant from a different time? The warp defies time and space. In fact, the Emperor has reached people through a different time before. In fact, it's heavily implied that the vision that Sigismund received was from the Emperor in the future, sending it back to the past. Given that Star Wars is a long, long time ago, the same kind of rules would apply. Let's see here. Your view on the Jedi. How is the Emperor reaching? Does Hypori have much of a shipyard? Just wondering what level of FAFO level threat the Razors are about to walk into. So no, Hypori has no shipyard. It has. So just so we're clear, when I say it has no shipyard, I mean it has no orbital shipyards. It does have planetary shipyards that it can fire them out. Hypori's factories are largely underground. Hypori was a secret factory world up until it got revealed. And that's actually why Grievous was revealed there. It was all secret. So yes, Hypori, very interesting, but Hypori is a world where all the factories are much more like Exegol, and they're focused underneath the crust of the planet. And they are quite expansive, but the shipyards not so much. The factories for droids, extremely so. Let's take a look here. Wasn't there a CIS factory that was producing a Munificent a week? Yeah. Like that's what I'm telling you. It's not even one factory, and they can do that kind of thing. Like Star Wars can produce a lot of ships very quickly, very, very quickly. Let's see here. Is Vordrin still alive? Maybe, maybe not. You'll have to wait to see. Do the Hutts have many shipyards? They do have many shipyards of their own. There's not a lot of notable ones, but Nar Shaddaa produces quite a lot of ships, actually. The Hutts have... did the Imperium try to increase their relationship with the Hutts by supplying drugs? This galaxy has not seen. I don't think most of the Imperium will be down to work with the Hutts. Caiaphas Cain is currently leveraging Jabba the Hutt because Caiaphas Cain has been abandoned on a desert world with like almost a 100% guarantee that he or most of the people here will die. So with that said, yeah, he doesn't have that. All right, I'll take 2 more questions. Farseer versus Jedi. Which Farseer, which Jedi? We have had some silly fucking Jedi, a lot of them, and we've had a lot of silly fucking Farseers. Like, Jesus, like the disservice some books do to the Eldar is nuts. Will we see an MK2? Will we see Mark II droidicas? Maybe. So, are we going to see the Hapes Consortium? I said 2 more questions, didn't I? I am such a rambler. All right. Last one. Would Twi'leks be sanctioned abhumans or exterminated? Situational. Very situational. It's very situational, but they can definitely become sanctioned abhumans. It's not outside the question. They would be difficult for them because of the physical, like, the right things have to happen with the right people at the right levels. And if they're not accepted right away, or rather there's that process doesn't begin relatively quickly, they will just double down on a decision they made previous and exterminate them all. So the either way, it could go either way. It could go either way is what I mean to say. So, will we see any Titans? Maybe. You'll see. All right, let's hop back to the writing. I have never written while with an audience, so please do forgive me if I am not quite up to par on my first attempt here, given that I am quite new at that. All right, let's see here. Scanning. Okay. Hmm. All right, let's have a check in on the chat since I've been quiet and typing for a little bit now. Let's take a look here. All right, guys, what do you think so far? Any questions on writing? Any questions on the process? I do have plans for the Bendu and the Force Priestesses and the Wills, but they are plans that are in the lore. I'm not sure if they'll actually make it into the story, but they could. They could. They are accounted for. Whether they appear or not, they are accounted for. Let's see here. Yeah, go ahead and repost your question if you can. Oh, you can't see the writing? Can you guys not see me writing? Let me know if you can see the writing or not. And another entity, go ahead and repost your question. If Wraithbone was discovered by the Jedi, how would they react? But that might happen, so I can't quite tell you that yet, but it would be very interesting for sure. Wraithbone's a very interesting material when it comes to the Force and the Warp and its interaction. Oh, I see the fuck. I have to work on that then. Let me see here. Caiaphas. It has been a while since we checked on him. Sooner than you might think. Sooner than you might think. On mobile, so it's barely visible for me. Yeah, I suppose that would be an issue here. It's hard for you guys to see what's being written. Okay. I'll see what I can do about that in future streams. All right. What do you guys have any questions about writing in particular? Writing. Any aspiring authors that would like to ask me anything at all? I don't like to toot my own horn, but a lot of people do tell me that I'm pretty good, and you guys seem to enjoy it. If you'd like to ask me anything about that kind of thing, then this is definitely the time. I am open to it. Damn, it's unreadable. Well, I guess no spoilers for you guys, huh? Aside from what I read, I guess. Wraithbone is very hard to manipulate because of the War in Heaven stuff. DMs are also welcome to ask any questions. I am quite the DM myself. I run a few games. My players are generous enough to pay me for the time, which is why I actually can do it. Otherwise, DMing is a lot of work, and D&D and TTRPGs, a lot of what do you call it? A lot of time and effort. Time is a big one. I actually have a low-key unlisted trailer that I made for one of my games. I didn't release it because I didn't want to get flooded by too many people wanting to join. We do have one spot open right now, but I don't know if you guys are interested in that kind of thing. Let me see here. How many times do you redraft, or what's your plan on redrafting your writing? I rewrite and redraft a lot. In fact, this story here, let me see. I keep track of it at the top here. This is version 5 of this. I have written down and rewritten and written down and rewritten this, with this being the 5th time. And honestly, I will probably rewrite it again. It gets a little better each time, but there's only so much that I can do in regards to that kind of thing. I rewrite a lot. Now, sometimes, rarely, I get it in like 1 to 4 goes. That's very short and fucking great. And when I do rewrite and redraft things, I don't necessarily rewrite everything. I don't start from ground zero. There are certain things that I may want to reposition or restructure, which requires it to be a redrafting. But a lot is kept if I can help it. So a lot. There's a lot of redrafting. Never be ashamed of rewriting and redrafting, because it's part of the pain of the process. And if you can't accept that, then you will have a very hard time writing, at least increasing your writing quality, because your first draft will be the only thing you can ever get out. Let's see here. Do you have any advice for writing smaller self-contained stories, or maybe lineages and family trees? Okay, so for smaller self-contained stories, actually, this is advice for both, but very important for smaller stories because you're trying to keep it constrained. Know the ending. Know how it ends, exactly how it ends. In fact, I would even tell you, write the ending first. And remember, you can change it after you've written it all to make it fit and mesh better with what ends up leading up to it. But for short stories, the key is short. So put a bookend somewhere, put a marker there. And the way that you can do that very easily is by writing the ending of the story. Once you've written the ending of the story, you will know a lot about where you're stopping. And by knowing where you're stopping exactly and how you're stopping exactly, it helps you know exactly where you should start so that the in-between doesn't take you from like, here with a short story to fucking, novel length or more. So that's that. When it comes to lineages and family trees, that is a different question because it's a world building question, very different from actually constructing the story. The way that I would suggest it, so there are two ways you go about this, and it depends on what you're trying to do. So if you really like building lineages and family trees, and that's a thing that you're really going for, then just do it, right? Start with your original lineage. Start all the way back with your Adam and Eve, like the first lineage, and then show all of the lineages and then have demonstrations of like what happens to wipe out lineages or memory of those lineages and show like bastards, keep track of the bastards and the bastardettes, so that when a lineage is officially wiped out, that lineage can actually kind of still exist in the form of one of these people. And depending on what it is that you're doing with lineages, it might be really fun for you to, to give them powers and stuff, like imagine that like you have sort of a Kekkei Genkai Naruto sort of thing going on where certain bloodlines inherit certain powers, right? If that's the case, then you can have an incredible power that is basically lost, because the family line is wiped out by A, B, or C event or series of circumstances, but the bastards of that family survive. And while they don't have easy access to that power because their blood isn't pure, however you want to set it up, but like because that happens, they weren't detected. And then years and years later, you have a villain who could only have been defeated by that bloodline, and your hero can be from that bloodline, a descendant of the bastards. But because their blood is impure, it's not easy for them to use this power. And so the villain's like, yeah, you're not of the bloodline of Shanrain. The Shanrainians could have easily destroyed me. For them, conjuring white fire was like blinking. For you need to go through all of this just to conjure a single flame. The world is mine. And see, that's a very compelling story, and that's a thing that lineages can play into. So if you really like world building and spending a lot of time doing that, go ahead. It will create a rich universe, just very slow to story build, but very rich when you finally follow through, Tolkien-esque. The other way you should do it, if you're more focused on a story and bloodlines are important, but you're not trying to sit there and literally work out an entire universe of bloodlines prior to starting, then what I suggest is go ahead and nail down an empty bloodline chart, and in the middle of it, or near the end, maybe, the end makes more sense, but in the middle is where I'd go because it lets you put into the future and the past. In the middle, put your main characters and your side characters and your bad guy and stick them in there into these different empty brackets, and then start reverse engineering. Give them past lineages and decide where those go from there, and give them frontward lineages and decide where those go from there. And those are not all the lineages in the world, but they're all the lineages that are going to be relevant to your story because they are the lineages that are associated to the characters. And that's my advice there. How do you keep the flow natural? You feel it out. Go ahead, write it. Here's the pain. You're not gonna like this. Write it out. Get a tempo. Read it once you're done. Read it out loud to yourself. Record it. Listen to yourself. If you don't feel the flow, rewrite it. You'll have some insights. Sometimes what you need to do is very, very small compared to what you will actually end up doing. But sometimes you'll have to reconstruct the entire thing, and it will be like pulling your own bones out of your body. But you got to do it. It's part of the pain of writing, part of the job. You just got to do it. So how do you know the flow? If you're having problems keeping the flow and you can't just tell as you're writing it, then write it, read it out loud, record it, play it back to yourself, listen. And if it's not hitting that flow, you got to be brutally honest with yourself, by the way. If you need, have someone else listen. They can be brutally honest for you because it can be hard to be brutally honest with yourself. It can be painful, very, very painful. but you can do it. And whether you're doing this with a beta reader or doing it with yourself, don't wait until you've written more in front of it, because that will increase the amount of rewriting you need to do and correction you need to do, and you don't want that. Finish a segment, work it out. If you're feeling that the flow is really important for this, listen to yourself and go back and fix it if you need to fix it. And listen, the flow doesn't need to be on point. Like if we gave flow like a point chart rate, like, oh, this flow is 100 flow points. You don't need a straight 100 flow points to hit good flow. You don't. It's not a precise science. There's give and take. Sometimes the flow will suck, but then it goes so good and so well that it completely obliterates how much it sucked. As long as it doesn't suck for too long and as long as it gets to a good flow. But the key is always going to be to read your own content, hear your own content, process it, manja, chew it up, let it become soft in your mind, and make corrections, which may be very hard, very painful, but it's very much part of the writing process. So let's see here. Let me see here. Do you have any advice do you use any tools to keep track of all the storylines? I use a document. I use Microsoft Word and, or not Microsoft Word. I use Google Docs, and I have a document with notes in it, and I have a search function, and I'll type someone's name in and search them up and be like, oh, here are my notes of this person. And I just hope that I've done it well. But it's very off the cuff, very artisanal, if you will. I wouldn't recommend it as find your own way of doing it. My way is extremely haphazard, and it works because I'm like autistic and a nerd. But if it didn't, if I wasn't that, it probably wouldn't work. And sometimes it doesn't. And I have to go and do much more research or to go back and listen to my own stories. Luckily, they're all recorded, so it's easier. But my method is very haphazard for keeping track of that stuff when it's not just kept in my brain. But my brain's pretty good at that particular kind of thing. When you start a story from scratch, what do you do first? That depends on the kind of story. The problem is that story is too vague. Is it a long story? Is it a short story? Is it a story about discovery or adversity? Is it a story with a moral, or a story that's just about an experience? Is it a fun story? Is it a grim story? So all of these things control how you start the story. There are some stories that I start in one way and some stories that I start in another way. And when I say start, I don't mean like how I open up the first chapter. I mean stories where it's like, okay, how will I go about constructing the bones, even just in my brain, about this story to begin writing it and to know what I'm doing? Very different, very different. Different stories, different processes, different ways to do it. The emotions, very different. It's an art. It's like, how do you begin writing a song? Some people may have one given way they do it, but for me, I'd have to ask, what kind of song? What kind of song? So let's see here. Where do you even start? Because the instant I ever think about writing a fantasy setting, I instantly realize I can't write a character without a setting to put them in context, and that wildly spirals. Okay, so if you are trapped in the spiral of world building, where you want to put your characters into a world and you want that world to make sense and, be cohesive and basically complete before you start, know this: you're going to be writing for a long time before you ever actually produce or publish anything. Be okay with that. But if you're not okay with that, then this is what you do. Start your story in an isolated environment, an island or a archipelago or a series of land that is blocked off by mountains. And obviously you will have influences from the rest of the world, but get your cores done, invest and control those cultures. Make sure that you make the amount of cultures and people and civilization that lives in that space manageable for yourself, so you can create the story quickly and not get lost in endless world building. And allude to the things that are beyond. Allude to them. You can even put names to it, but don't put definitions to the names. Let it be vague. And just let that be a little pearl that will expand when you go beyond that border. And then when you go beyond that border, put another border somewhere, another border of discovery for the story. And let the things beyond that be vague. And just work it out in layers as you tell the story, as you move from history to history. And that should help you have the world building you want locally for your story to be able to take place and be cohesive and good, but also not to get lost in the weeds, creating an entire massive mythology. Anything that goes 3 or 4 degrees beyond the story's relevance, let it be vague. You can give a name to it, but make it a placeholder. You'll come back to it later. That's how I suggest. And that will also give you time to digest parts of your story and your world building and to ruminate on them without having set up anything and like put yourself in any position where you're doubling down. And then you'll have a really good idea and there won't be anything in that space swallowing it up that you have to replace or jive with. You will have been patient, absorbed it, and have this cool idea. So that's my recommendation for that. Let's see here. Have you ever seen / played the Nintendo DS Clone Wars game? No, I have not. I do not have a Nintendo DS, and I have never had a Nintendo DS. Nothing against Nintendo. I'm a PC guy. Let's see here. I love writing first-person style stories. Can you try and create some first-person sections to the story, like what we see in the Ravner trilogy? I could. I'm typically a third-person writer, but I have done first person, so I'll take that into consideration if I see a interesting place to put it. When did you first get into writing, and how did you develop your writing skills throughout the years? Okay, so when I was a child, when I was like a very little kid, before I could read, my dad would come in, and it was one of the more precious moments that I spent with him every day. He'd come in every day. I had an adjoining bathroom that would connect to my brother's room. So my room was here, my brother's room was here, our bathroom was here in the middle. And my dad would sit in the bathroom with both doors open, and he would read The Lord of the Rings and then Harry Potter. I think that he actually began, I don't know if he began with the Odyssey, but because I was very young, but he would read us this. He would read us these stories, lots of them, like Aragon too. He started reading Aragon to us. And these stories really inspired me and my brother's love of fiction and of storytelling, and it gave us a very deep emotional connection to it. I'm actually dyslexic and I'm autistic, so it was not easy for me to begin writing. And I remember my first story, Captain Ace. Captain Ace was a brick of a fucking story, if you could even call it that, and it was just random and disconcerted and all over the place. But I was writing that since the moment I could basically write. I had a lot of trouble writing. It was like even to this day, my handwriting is absolutely atrocious. People would suggest that I should try other things sometimes, and I pushed through that, and now I am as good as I am. You have to love it. You have to love it because you're not going to be good at it. You're going to be bad at it, and you have to be okay being bad at it, and you have to be okay creating things that are going to suck, and not even because you know that doing that will make you better. You have to be okay creating things that are going to suck, knowing that you have created them because you love the art. You loved creating them. Even if no one else loves it, you loved it. It was for you. That's a big deal of where to start. That's a big thing that will get you through a lot of the process you need to write. And aside from that, if you want just math for this is the math. Like 10,000 hours. Write for 10,000 hours. Not sit in front of a keyboard and try to write for 10,000 hours. Type. The timer's on. Type. I stop typing. I'm thinking. The timer's off. Then type. The timer's back on. That 10,000 hours. Write for 10,000 hours, and you will be good at it. It is that kind of skill. It is that kind of ingrainedness inside of our minds as humans. You will be some kind of good. Now, your natural talent will play into it a bit, but you will be good. You may even be great, maybe even legendary. But 10,000 hours. Yeah, write a lot. Write. Always write. Be writing, always writing. Write. And you'll get good at writing. But that is like, I wish there were a secret or a trick or some arcane thing. It is just bleed out of your fingertips from writing. That's the key. Let's see here. Yeah, I stick to World of Darkness because urban fantasy has always been my thing. Yeah, urban fantasy can be pretty cool. Let me see here. I haven't played World of Darkness yet, though. I'm hoping to one day. Will the Sith use synthetic lightsaber crystals in your story, or will they bleed their crystals? They will bleed their crystals. One of the things I'm going to do with this story is I'm going to, first of all, I actually don't plan for that to be mutually exclusive. I think that there could have been artificial lightsaber crystals and there could have been crystals that were bled. And I don't think, like, imagine that a naturally occurring red lightsaber crystal only comes from being bled. Okay, well, that's from naturally occurring kyber crystals. What about the synthetic crystals and the science that went behind them? That's not been uncanonized, and even if it has been, I don't care. Makes sense to me. Makes sense as to how armies of Sith would get armed with lightsabers, especially when they were just taking on anybody who could hold the goddamn thing. What, everybody bleeds a crystal? All of the Sith in all the Sith wars, even when they were super lame, they do the thing that Darth Vader did with that fucking blue crystal? Yeah, I doubt that shit, okay? The Jedi wouldn't stand a chance if they were met in numbers with an equal amount of Sith like they were in those wars, and all of those Sith were of a skill level to bleed all their crystals. For me, it's not mutually exclusive. But I actually like the idea of lightsaber crystal bleeding. I do not like how they did it in the Acolyte. So that you guys know, lightsaber crystals can be bled with the dark side to change their color, and this is like how the Sith are doing it in the Disney canon. That's a good thing. I like it. It's more character driven. It's dramatic, and it doesn't take anything away really. But it's hard. It's really hard. It's really, really hard. It's a thing that will really test you, especially if you have any light side in you at all. So when Anakin bled his lightsaber crystal, it dragged his ass through the dirt, okay? It caused lightning, flashes of incredible light. He had to do it while trying to do it, like very intentionally. And he had a whole force vision, okay? A whole force vision about this shit, where he imagined himself going back and reconciling with Obi-Wan Kenobi and defeating Sidious. And it showed him a future where he could realistically, like, atone for his sins and undo the things he had done. And it was like, take it. It's not too late. Don't use that it's too late as an excuse. Take it. Take it. Take it. It was that kind of temptation, and Darth Vader had to defeat it, which is why I like that Sith, at least Sith for the rule of two, bleed their lightsaber crystals, because it becomes like this checkpoint where it's like this entity has convinced you in this state of mind through these illusions that it is possible for you to go back. It is possible for you to not have to do this. You don't have to go this way. I'm offering you a hand. I'm showing you the reality beyond anything anyone's told you. Here's the truth. Please take it. And it was really compelling. Darth Maul went through the same thing when he bled his lightsaber crystals, and it was very intense. He saw himself betraying Sidious, going to the Jedi, throwing himself to their mercy, beginning to live a good life. These are important tests. Osha in The Acolyte bleeds her lightsaber crystal. She does it by accident. And she does it like effortlessly. It's not a test for her. It's a mistake that she just does. And does Disney care about their own canon? Does Disney care about their own canon? Do they care? Because, like, they made up this rule. They set these precedents, and now they fuck it up. Fuck me, right? Fuck me. In any case, guys, that's more or less what I have to say about the lightsaber crystals. I like the bleeding. I like the process of it. I like how it tests the Sith and makes them double down on their path of darkness without any excuse. But I don't like the way it was done in The Acolyte. But yes, lightsaber bleeding, crystal bleeding, that's a thing in my universe for sure. I keep that. That's good. Let's see here. Because a setting only works with a history, and then you're writing an entire creation, myth, and natural history from scratch, and the scope is impossibly daunting. Don't make it all. Leave space for yourself. Leave space for yourself, and just write the story. Leave space for yourself and write the story. You have to you understand this. It's not impossibly daunting because lots of people do it. I've done it. Lots of people have done it. You can do it too. How many times did you rewrite the next episode? Let me check. 12 times. Might be 13 before I get to the end. What is your process in writing? I've been having trouble with story writing, especially in putting together a new chapter. I need a bit more information on that, Jonathan. What part are you at? What is your specific issue? That's more or less what I'd need to find out. Maybe there's a way for me in the future to have a way for some of you guys to chat with me And I'll just have like a bit of a writer's workshop and help you out with whatever it is you need. Let me see. I'm going to scroll down a bit. Do you have any particular recommendations for balancing world building while not crushing your audience with lore? Yes. Never lore dump. I actually need to follow this rule myself more, but just let the story happen. Just let people go on. A lot of authors, okay, here's a very important thing. Every aspiring author, listening close, lean in for this, okay? Let the question come before the answer. A lot of authors are afraid of beginning their story, explaining their world by just letting it happen, and then leaving audiences like confused. Like, well, what does that mean? What does that term mean? What is this? How does this work? Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. As long as you do explain it at some point, as long as the clues are present in the story for it to be put together, a good audience will still stick it, and they'll still stick through it, and they'll still watch it, and they'll still pick it up. Just live in your world. Have your characters live in your world. And if you find at some point that the audience is still not getting something, then go ahead and slide that explanation in nice and smooth, but do not exposition dump. Let the audience be confused. Let them ask the question, then provide the answer. But listen to me, lean in here. Authors, lean in. Mystery box. Say a thing they don't know what it means. Just don't make it super important for them to know it. Let context clues carry it. If I say, oh, he's tougher than an Astarian Jabberwock, you don't know what an Astarian Jabberwock is, but you know they're tough because from the context of my sentence, I've communicated to you. So since you know they're tough because of the context of the sentence, the audience isn't confused about what you intend to say. They may not know what the animal is, and they may now imagine a whole plethora of animals in their minds that fit that description. But they know that you mean to say that this guy is tough. As long as you're not fucking up your intended communication, then just say things as the world would have it and let the audience pick up the clues and pick up the pieces as they go along. If you need, have one exposition dump at the very beginning after you've hooked the audience, get it over with quickly to get them exactly what they need to know that they wouldn't be able to pick up. But even then, and again, lean in here, let the question come before the answer. Nobody wants to hear answers to questions they have not asked. It's boring. It's unrelated. I don't care yet. Let them care. Let them ask the question. So let's see here. Your story fanfic story made is the main reason why I'm making my own, but everything is completely in plot and everything else. Were I to show you mine, would you have anything to help me to work? If I can figure out how to do that kind of workshop idea I said earlier, then yes. But until then, the chat's not really big enough to do that. Have you ever considered writing your own TTRPG? I have, but it never really went anywhere. Don't be afraid to hurt your character. Yeah, don't be afraid to hurt your character. God, like this is one of the things that like Kathleen Kennedy notably stopped Rey from being maimed like any other Skywalker would be. And she was just so protective of the character. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't be protective, okay? Don't. Let your characters go through shit. That is part of what makes their story interesting. We are flawed human beings. We crave trials and tribulations. Do not remove them from your character thinking that people will like it. They will not. People may like it if you make them have an easy life after they've earned it and they've gone through those stuff and your story has shaped up to it. But until then, let your characters go through it up to like what is appropriate for the story. Don't shield them. Rey wanted to be a Skywalker. She should have lost a fucking hand. Let's see here. We are now getting past 2 hours and 30 minutes for this stream. I'll answer a few more and then I will bid you all adieu for this first stream, which I think has been rather fun. I hope you guys have enjoyed it as well. Let's see here. I wish I was able to write like this, but I just can't because my brain works so much faster than my hands can. No. Listen, I feel that. That is not a reason that you can't write, because it is not a reason I can't write. And trust me when I say this, it's almost like by the time I get an idea out of my fingers, it's already old in my head. Defeat that. That is the darkness, the resistance within you that prevents you from being what you could be. Defeat it. Enlighten yourself, have patience with yourself, and work through that. Because if you have a story worth telling, it should not be told because of that. I understand. Your brain will always be faster than your fingers. There's not a single writer alive who doesn't have that problem. You have to chew through it. Manja. All right, let's see here. How do you make a fantasy map? Lots of fantasy map makers all over online. Take your pick. If you like, go ahead and Google it. I have no particular way of making fantasy maps. I go looking for map makers online and have fun with it, and then there's a fantasy map. What is your process in writing? I've been having trouble with writing my stories, especially putting together a new chapter. Oh, I think I read that already. Maybe I scrolled up at some point. All right, hold on. I'll scroll down. Bevel Emelisk, who was forgetful and sometimes overlooked key weaknesses, made the damn Death Star, not Galen Erso, and Katarn stole the overarching and final piece of the DS plans. Okay, yes, Legends lore, yes. But listen, Rogue One was a good movie. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I can understand how people like Andor, and I think that Andor is a cool lore thing, but I am bored to death by Andor, and I do not care about the character whatsoever at all. I can't be bothered with him. Andor is a great story, is a great thing. Quality is very high. It also strikes me as not very Star Wars. It's not sinfully un-Star Wars, and it's not low quality, but I am very bored by Andor. I'll be honest. So while I do tend to side with the Disney interpretation of the Death Star plans thing, I am tempted to shift it around because, I mean, how do I say this? It's just, I mean, I like it better. I like that Galen Erso put the weakness into the Death Star better than Bevel Emelisk just being a moron, that then it proceeds to get murdered and resurrected over and over again by Palpatine as a form of torture. But I much prefer that it be there on purpose and that the designer of it have put that there on purpose. It makes more sense, and it also explains why the second Death Star was built so much faster than the first. It also makes the Imperials less of a bunch of morons, and I'm always in favor of unstupefying the Empire. Let's see here. All right, so this will be where I go ahead and put down the stream. It has been a blast. Thank you guys for joining me, and I'll see you next time.